We're pleased to have Phoenix Police Chief Jeri Williams joining us live in studio to give some perspective. First, our condolences go out to you and your department and Commander Carnicle's family. Now, Jason mentioned that he leaves behind a wife and 4 children.
Yes.
And of course, you know, you work together in Maryville. You've been able to connect with his family since this happened. How are they dealing? How's his family at home dealing? And how is your department dealing with this loss?
So all great questions. First and foremost, thank you so much to the community, to Honor Health, to everyone who came and rallied behind the Phoenix Police Department last night just to help us through it. As you would expect, his family is devastated. They were planning to ride off in the sunset, if you will, at his retirement. He was supposed to retire in October. I know he's very close to his grandson also. So they're devastated. Our department is at a complete loss. So this is the first commander that we've lost in the line of duty. So just something that you're just kind of taking a shot in the gut on, pretty much so.
Yeah, any loss is personal for you as chief,
Yes.
but he was a good friend. You guys worked together for years.
I can remember back to Maryville, 81 King for me. We would meet at 43rd Avenue and Thomas at Church's Chicken. So I laughingly joked a little bit today just to try to bring a little levity to the situation, that when I came back to be the police chief, I would walk back to the back and Greg would be sitting outside or at an outside computer and he says, "Hey, what's going on, Chickenhead?" We used to call each other Chickenhead. So that his wit, his leadership, his mannerisms, his care for concern for the community and the people that he led out as Car 4, our night shift person, it was very telling as I looked on the faces of my employees how much of a loss he's going to be for our department.
Yeah, we heard Sergeant Fortune earlier explaining how he could have had his pick of assignments, but as a commander, he wanted to be on that night and weekend shift, working with patrol, making sure that his men and women on the streets were safe. And that's really a cop's cop.
That is blue all the way through, and it does take a special person to work the Car 4 function. You are responding to calls. You are making sure that the men and women out there are abiding by rules and regulations and being safe and getting them what they need. It takes a special person to have that be his last assignment as he rides off into retirement.
You know, we've talked before about how no call is a routine call and things can escalate to deadly in an instant, which it did. There appears to have been no sign that things would escalate as they did, unfortunately, last night. So how proud are you in this crazy, volatile, changing scene of those other officers to not hesitate and go in and make sure that the commander and those other officers were taken out of the scene as quickly as possible?
So it was literally without hesitation, without pause, that on the fly our employees made adjustments to make sure that they had cover fire in order to extract Commander Carnicle out, as well as Officer Dowen and Hubert, to make sure they were taken to safety. It takes a special kind of person to go in when you see the results of what has happened, that violence that's just happened right before you, to not hesitate, not pause. I'm just blessed to be the police chief that has men and women who are willing to do that.
And can you talk about your other officers? You said they're recovering.
Yes.
They should be okay.
Yes, so they should fully recover. Both sustained gunshot wounds. They both did have their families at the hospital. One has a retired mom who worked for the department, and then the other's mother is currently working with us too. So you talk about legacy in one family. To see us rally behind Officer Hubert and Dowen and their families, while still creating a safe environment with Honor Health, because they gave us some very strict guidelines and rules. So we had to sanitize in, we had to put on masks. They set up extra outside facilities for us to show up and come in. So they were very careful and very cautious. But we're very blessed to have those kind of entities in our city that can understand the need for us to be close for one another, but at the same time maintaining those social distances that we need to maintain at this time.
Absolutely. And so speaking of current circumstances, this is always a very dangerous job. But how do our current circumstances up the ante for volatility and the potential for violence in the home when you're talking about people under potentially more financial strain, people who might be more mentally unstable or suicidal or domestic violence, those things?
So we're definitely keeping a close eye on domestic violence and suicide. So you add in the factor of kids not being in school, you add in the factor of some essential services and folks who work in those service areas. So we're starting to be very cognizant about that and really start paying attention to that. We do want folks to get outside. So the foundation president, Tim Thomas, and I were just talking. I now see more people out and about with their families. So hopefully that will create the kind of environment where folks will get out of their homes. But we are quite aware of the strain that this is placing on the families.
You know, and you talked about what a family it is in law enforcement anytime something like this happens, and blessings on those doctors and nurses that were able to get you guys as close as you could be.
Absolutely.
I can't say how moving it was to see the footage of those officers lining up to the medical examiner's office. I know we've got some footage of that. To see just the show of that brotherhood for the family, that show of support. But talk to me about, I know this is we've never been through anything quite like this ever before, where we have to practice social distancing. And part of healing for our community, for your department, is being able to honor our fallen heroes in a way that we can come together and show that solidarity. So have you had any talks? I know it's very early, and I apologize for asking, but I'm sure people in our community are anxious. They want to know, how can they honor this hero?
So first and foremost, we want to honor the wishes of Greg's family. So that's first and foremost. At the same time, in this age and stage of essential functions and non-essential functions, we're going to have to get very creative in how we honor Greg and his life. You actually mentioned the procession of folks coming out. The hospital staff, before he came out of the hospital, were lined up along the corridors. So we had police, we had fire, we had EMS, we had local, state, federal agencies, and the hospital staff paying tribute to a man who gave his all.
What is your final message for people out there in these kind of times of heightened anxiety, I guess, in our community, and to have a loss like this?
So a loss like this during this time is hard for any agency. It's even harder for his family. But at the end of the day, men and women in uniform put this blue suit on every day, and they still will go out and take those calls for service. So we're still available. Our support staff is still there. We're encouraging people that if you see a police officer, to please thank him or her for their service. That goes a long way. People don't understand how critically important that is. And then at the end of the day, if you want to give, please give to the Phoenix Police Foundation. And I know we have President Tim Thomas who's going to talk about that. But 100% of the donations go to the family.
Chief, thank you. And that's actually a perfect segue, because standing over, we're practicing social distancing here in the studio. We do have Tim Thomas, who is the president for the Phoenix Police Foundation, a civilian. And Tim, this is close to your heart, to make sure that we're able to help the commander's family.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's such a sad day for the Phoenix Police Department and our community. And when these things happen, it's hard sometimes for the community to know what they can do. You know, we want to hear positive messages, and a lot of people want to donate. They want to support the family financially, because there is a financial impact to the family and to the officers that were shot as well. So we provide an opportunity for people to donate, knowing that 100% of their donation is going to make it to the family. And a lot of times that provides great joy to the donors. It's almost like every dollar's a hug, if you will. I mean, it really translates into that for the family.
Yeah, and as a civilian yourself, I know that this is a heart job for you to be working for the foundation, to make sure. It's got to really hurt so much more to know that this brave commander was just months away from retiring and being home full time with his family.
Yeah, that makes it even more difficult when you just stack all those factors up. And the reason that, you know, the foundation exists and why I do what I do is because of the brave men and women of the Phoenix Police Department. I understand fully what their job entails and what they put on the line every day. So that's what I do, and I know the community out there supports them as well. So we want to, like the chief said, if you see an officer, please thank them for what they do. It does go a long way.
Tim Thomas, Phoenix Police Foundation, and of course, Phoenix Police Chief Jeri Williams. Thank you both for being in studio. And so if you're watching at home tonight, we want to give you some action ways that you can help, because I know we've been getting phone calls and emails. So this is what we're doing right now. Arizona's Family is teaming up with the Phoenix Police Foundation throughout Good Evening Arizona tonight. We're raising money for Commander Greg Carnicle's family, Officer Marissa Dowen and Officer Alicia Hubert, who were also seriously injured. We are taking donations tonight from 4 to 7 o'clock here on Good Evening Arizona, so please give if you can, and snap a screenshot of this, and you can share it on social media. We know everybody's got the phone in hand, right? We'll keep it up on the screen for a moment here. 100% of your donations, know this, will go directly to these officers and Commander Carnicle's family, and we've got a link to donate to make it easy on your screen right now through our website, azfamily.com, and our AZ Family News app.